In this video, I want to show you how to paint light in watercolor, and I've got a couple of these real basic beach scenes that we're going to work on, and it's just going to highlight two different light sources. In the top one, I'm going to make the light source come from directly above. This one here, I'm going to make the light source come from the right hand side, so we're going to have shadows cast to the left. So this is really important. I think it's often, when you're starting out painting, beginners think you just have to paint everything in, but a lot of the time, a little bit of color, a little bit of lighter color especially is all that you need to imply the light. It's all the darks that you put in later that make those lights pop out of the paper. So I did touch on this a little bit earlier with the direction of the light on both of these scenes, but you need to decide which direction light is coming from, because this is really going to affect where the shadows are cast. So if you've got the light source to the left, you can imagine that you've got the sun over here, the shadows are going to be cast to the right. And the further down the light source as well, it could be down on the horizon line or something, you might get shadows that are longer as well. Whereas if the sun is further up, higher up in the sky, the shadows are going to be more underneath and to the right of the figure. So how the shadows run can often represent what time of the day it is. So you have to be mindful of such things. Okay. Now, when we are painting, the first thing we want to do is we want to pick a large brush in order to get in all the light. And what I want to do is put in some light color for the sand. Okay, there's sand and also these buildings at the back, which I'm going to probably leave white down the base. Okay, and I'm just going to get in a lot of this yellow ochre. Yeah, it's just one quick wash of yellow ochre to simplify this scene. Just a little bit of that yellow ochre like that. And same with the background here with the bit of headland that we have in the back there. All right, bit of light on the headland, on the roofs of these little houses as well. I think to myself, like these beach houses, a little bit of brown, a little bit of this burnt sienna. Look at that. And notice how I just let everything kind of blend together. And we can flick in also a bit of sand and stuff, not sand, but, bits of brown and stuff like that also here if you want. Not really necessary, but while the paint is still wet, you can do that. It doesn't make too much of a mess, and it makes it look kind of interesting. The water, I'm going to get in with a bit of blue. Okay, you can either use ultramarine blue or you can use cerulean. I'm just picking up a bit of ultramarine here. And because it has some yellow in it, it's actually going to go slightly turquoisey. Doesn't matter. Just cut around. Okay, and there we have it. We've got a bit of this, sort of water there in the back. Note as well, this is all very light washes. I'm not using almost any paint in this. About 5%, 10% paint, and the rest of it is just water. Okay. Even encourage things to blend together at times like that. Now we've also got the sky. So let's pick up a bit of cerulean blue and I'm just going to drop that in like that. Simple. Lots of water, and use a big brush for this. Okay, big brush. Ideally, I'd like the sky to be very, very light. Again, about 5% less, 5 or less percent water. Paint, sorry, and just getting that through like that. I might just, I can pick up a bit of extra paint, get in a cloud or something up in the sky. Don't need to, but it's just, again, another little technique that I use from time to time to get in little details while the paint is still wet. Okay, kind of like up in the foreground there. Okay. So that's all the light basically of the scene. Okay, we want to let this completely dry first. The second scene down below, I'm going to repeat the exact same thing. Okay, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a bit of golden kind of color here. So if I can represent maybe like golden hour, or like that time just before the sun sets, a little bit of this quinacridone gold. All right. There we have it. Just going around that figure there in the foreground, down into the base like that. look how quick and easy I'm doing this. It's not even, it's only just a few little brush strokes. You know, the background as well, maybe just get in some of those hills and bits of headland out there. Simplify that down, you know, and the water here in the foreground, let's get in a bit of this ultramarine blue and just drop that in a bit. Let's see, it's too dark. I want that much lighter, much lighter. It's starting to turn a bit green. I don't want to. It's tricky when you're using yellows with blues. You always get this sort of thing happening. Okay, but there we have it. A little bit of blue or something in there for the water. Okay, but it's still a fairly light kind of color. Okay, and off in the top of the scene, we're going to go get in a little bit of blue as well, and I can use something like turquoise, you know, whatever a kind of a cool sort of color for the sky. I can just go with that. But again, we're using a lot of water, tons of water. Okay, tons of water. And I think what I'll start doing as well, because again it is later in the day, I'll make the sky a touch darker, especially down, you know, down here at the base. Just a little bit of, you know, a little bit of darkness in the sky. Okay, tiny bit more darkness in the sky like that. Okay, this umbrella as well, you know, I can pretty much do the same thing and just get in that bit of yellow. Why not get in a touch of yellow? Maybe just change it around a bit, and I'll put some red in there as well, a bit of yellow in the red, so that it's not all, of course, the same color. It can be very tempting at times. I just paint everything the same color, but we do have to get some variation in here. I think it just makes it look interesting. Okay, the house as well, I might put in a little bit of this off yellow color, off white color. So now that both of these scenes are dried off, you can see all that light's just nicely preserved in there. Now the whole idea is to make sure we emphasize that light, preserve that light. And this is something that beginners, you know, make a mistake in. We start to paint in areas that we should leave completely untouched. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to work on just using a simple dark color. I'm not going to add too much in there at all. Normally I do add a few different other colors and darks in here, but for the sake of this video, we can really get the basics in, make it look decent with only just one color. So here you can see with these figures and what have you as well, we can go over, for example, the legs. Okay, we get in a bit of the legs like that. Okay, and a bit of the shadow underneath. So again, we're kind of implying, like I said before, the sunlight coming directly from above. Okay, so you're going to get a bit of shadow underneath the figures. Okay, one there, maybe one here. Simplify that down. Bit of shadow underneath the head there as well. Sometimes you get a bit here underneath the arms. Okay, and that little shadow underneath the figure there. Okay, kind of going a bit to the left, but mostly just making that light come straight from above. You know, a couple of figures here in the water as well can be doing something. We've got some figures here sort of sitting on the beach, and again, that maybe a tiny bit of shadow running to the left. Okay, actually just maybe like that should be fine. You know, sometimes these towels as well, you do get a little bit of a shadow there, a bit of that shadow underneath that one here. Okay, I might modify that a bit, just, yeah, like this here. So the light just looks like it's coming more from above. So it's pretty much, I'm trying to imply like a midday sun, I suppose. Nice midday sun. You know, underneath these buildings, you sometimes get this like really dark shadow underneath the rooftops like that. You know, you've got also these little bits of the jetty in the background, the pier. There's a boat here or something like that there. Okay, quite basic. A little bit of, I usually put in a bit of red for the faces or something like that there. In the background as well, you know, a little bit of color for the background hills or what have you. So I can just drop in, you know, this is really just gray. It's nothing too obvious. Mix that around a bit. So we've still got a bit of light showing through some of that headland. Okay, but a lot of it is just slightly darkened. Okay, so you can see here how we've actually emphasized that light a lot more, okay, of the beach, the sand, the brightness of the sand. Okay, let's do the same thing here again with that same color. It's really just a bit of gray that I've got, maybe with a touch of blue or something in it as well. And here we've got like an umbrella stem there, and again, the light source this time is, again, it's coming from the right, but it's casting a longer sort of shadow. Okay, so this is implying that it's later in the day, perhaps. Okay, where the sun's setting. All right, so the shadows are cast a little bit more out to the back, and even the house here, and this, you know, put a bit of that on there as well. A bit more of that shadow cast to the left like that. You know, you've got, again, this same jetty or whatever that we painted in there before, drawn in there before, like that. There's the head of this figure. I've forgotten to put the head of this figure on. Somewhere like that. Okay, oops, overdone it. Like that. You know, another thing I might do as well is I might think to myself, well, how if I could emphasize that light by darkening the headland out the back. See, I can actually just use this smaller brush to cut around the buildings and the umbrella. Okay, like that. Just get that bit of darkness in for the headland out the back, but still leave in a touch of color, a touch of that yellow here and there to indicate the sun, that sunlight. Okay, and look at that. We've brought out the light on the figures even more. And the light on the house, you know, the bit of the rooftop there, even more because of the way we've cut around the bits and pieces. Okay, and also we've emphasized that time of the day. Now, finally, what you can do is you can pick up a little bit of white gouache, which I have here on the side of the palette, and this is just opaque watercolor, white gouache, and we can go in and we can actually add in some finishing touches, some little highlights to bring out extra light in this scene. So notice here, just on the head, the shoulder, the right-hand side of the shoulder. And normally I might mix this in also with a bit of yellow to make it look more to have that same quality of light that we have in this particular scene. But I'm just simplifying this down. There's another figure there on top of that house, for example, back there. You know, this one here perhaps as well, you know, on this jetty there, like that. So, you know, you might even, some people also like to put in bits of like kind of waves, like lighter colored waves in the water, like that, to bring out some extra little highlights. Okay, if we do this to the one to the top as well, we can just emphasize that light. I can just do that on top of the figure and the shoulders. You want to really wait for this to dry completely before doing it. I've gone in and it's still slightly wet, so it is not working super well, but you can see it does help to bring out these little bits of light that you might have lost out or may not have portrayed accurately before, but this allows you to just kind of bring it back in a way. You know, some figures you might want to make them wear a white shirt or something like that as well. You can change the color of the outfits and things that they're wearing, which is a nice little thing to do in watercolors because normally you can't. So that's about it. A really quick tutorial on making sure you understand the steps in painting light, preserving it all the way to the end, and the 2 steps: paint the light colors, paint the dark colors and the shadows, and at the end touch up bits and pieces with a bit of gouache if you'd like. If you found this video helpful, do me a big favor and click the like button on the video and share it around with a friend. It really helps me to get this video out to more people. It doesn't cost you a cent. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest watercolor tutorials, tips, and free workshops, make sure you subscribe. Hey there, if you really want to level up your watercolor skills, feel confident and relaxed when you're painting, and just be proud to show your friends and family the beautiful paintings you create, check out my 70-course Watercolor Essentials program in the video description. I also have a Patreon with up to 84 exclusive premium courses. You can sign up and cancel at any time. The link is also below in the description.